Hi there and welcome to another edition of the Attention Seeking Podcast, where we shine a light on ADHD with different guests to create a cocktail of anecdotes, insights, and often a healthy measure of humour too. I'm your host, Chris Healy, and today I'm delighted to be joined by another very special guest, Lorelei Mathias. A multi-talented author, comedian and campaigner for better understanding of ADHD and the challenges faced by ADHDers in the UK, Lorelei recently appeared in the new series of Greenwing and is currently working on her own sitcom for Hat-Trick Productions. Her sketches are great observations on the ADHD experience and works simultaneously on satirically comic and informative levels. She's had her sketch shows nominated numerous times for awards at Edinburgh Television Festival, and unsurprisingly, she's a creative dynamo that seems never to lack new ideas nor the energy to have several projects always running at once. Lorelei Mathias, welcome to the Attention Seeking Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
I started the last one. I'm wanting to try and start this each time with the question of, so what's the most ADHD thing you've come across this week? As an example of something, yesterday I had a real prime thing of, in the morning I got up, I did some exercise. Then I've recently, as I just mentioned to you, I've recently started seeing a lovely Ukrainian lady, woman, person. I think that's how you define nowadays these
Lady, woman,
these
person.
types.
Yeah, that's the official
that's
term.
right. I thought so. Yeah, I like to get it right. I don't want to be cancelled. That sort of thing. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was learning from her some expletives that she's used, and so I thought, right, okay. As I got distracted, my whole brain, I needed to get on with my work. That was the point. And so in a procrastination mode, I just looked up the spelling of this word. I'm not going to say it in case it's really offensive. I don't know. And got that. And then I thought, oh, that's nice. I'll make a sticker. Yeah, and I'm not very good with saying. I'll make a sticker on my phone for that, right?
Nice.
And then so I did, but you couldn't do that easily because it's text, and then it wouldn't, when you press it, it wouldn't do a sticker thing. And so I edited it a bit. I mean, that's about half an hour in now for this one word that I'm doing. Made it, and then I thought, well, it's got to be blue and yellow in there because Ukraine, you know, I'll go with that, and did all of that. Took ridiculously long. I was now going, look, I really need to get on with my work, but I'm almost finished. Sent it over to find out, thank you, but that's a Russian. And I was like,
oh no.
Oh, God. Oh, well, that was pointless then. So I then got in the shower thinking, oh, that was a waste of time. And thinking, God, the procrastination we do. But then had the most creative spark moment of thinking, actually, it wasn't useless. Because I thought, how often do us ADHDers do the most insanely creative things out of procrastination?
Absolutely.
And then with that, I thought, right, I need to start either a hashtag or a channel of
you don't. No more things.
just posting what you create out of these sort of things. And you said, no, you don't. And now my head has still been going, that video work I've got to do, I'll just push that aside.
No, exactly. I've
worked out the theme tune, which was a take on Destination Unknown with editing it to Procrastination Unknown, you know.
That's great. Yeah.
And then I thought the comments, people could just put numbers out of 10. They don't have to say anything for what they think of the outcome. How great was the outcome of this procrastination?
I love that. But no, we're amazing problem solvers. So I've couple of those. They're not the example I'm going to use this week, but two things where I've gone, I'm an amazing problem solver. Once I was on a beach in Wales a few years ago, and it was when everyone was still kind of wearing face masks. And I'd gone for a impromptu swim in, I think it's Penarth. I was up there for the BBC Comedy Festival, and I'd gone for a swim, and then I got out and I'd lost one of my socks. I'd lost a shoe or a sock. So I was one-footed, which is quite often something that happens. I'll be one-shoed or one socks. And so I was like, well, okay, what else can I use on the foot without the sock or shoe? I'll use my face mask. So I wrapped the face mask around my foot and I walked on that. And that was great. It worked really well. Yeah, because I just needed a barrier, you know, because it's quite sharp rocks and pebbles. So yeah, I was wearing one sock and one. I don't know where my shoes were at this point. So yeah, must have been.
Did you find the shoes in the end?
Flip-flop. No.
No. But you didn't need them because you found the face marks.
Yeah.
Face masks.
I think it was instead of flip-flops, I was one flip-flop down, which is often what happens. And then the other thing I thought was a great problem solve was I was leaving the house once in a hurry, and I was on my third re-entry of having gone out and put, to get something, come back in, put my bag down, got the thing I forgot, but left my bag and then got back in. Yeah, so it's standard. So on my third exit, I was like, oh no, I've got a hole in my tights. I've got a really big ladder hole in my tights. I was wearing dungarees as well, that I just do not have time to change clothes and put another tights on. So what did I do? I grabbed a black marker pen and I coloured in my leg.
Very
so
good.
The bit that was exposed, the bit of exposed skin was black. And
how much did you have to
not move my leg? Quite a lot,
and how much did you have to black up your leg? Was it just a small section?
I suppose it was quite offensive, really. But
it would be nowadays.
No, it was quite, because I obviously had to do more than the surface area that was exposed. Just I had a bleed. I needed a big.
So what is the bleed size?
Yeah, the ratio was pretty high. It was about 100%. Around the outside of the area.
That's about 100% of your leg.
No, so if that's the area, the hole,
right,
I had to do about a circumference the same again.
Yeah. Very good.
And no one commented. So I really recommend that as a solution.
Useful.
It was a permanent marker pen, so it took a while.
So that's good. It took a while to come off, but that was useful, because should you wear the tights again, it's ready to go.
Ready to go. It's going to get the right leg.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you found a black face mask, and we were going to have that PPE mountain of useless PPE that they ordered.
Yeah. It was one of the blue ones, so it was quite nice. It was quite fetching as a sock. But I would say the most ADD thing this week has been just a general ongoing saga with locks and keys that I have. Like, I have a lot of key holders. I'm always locking myself out. I have a list of 10 key holders that I'll go into my phone and go, right, who can I bother this time with the spare key? And it was 1 a.m. at this point, and I was like, okay, I've locked myself out. Never mind. I'll just sleep on my doormat, because I was an internal entrance hall. And I've got a kind of Edward Monckton pig of happiness, spiky doormat, really bristly. I was like, I'll just sleep on that. It's fine. I'm not outside.
It could be like a meditation thing. It's like lying on a bed of pins.
And because it's pig of happiness, I renamed it pig of dappiness, because I was like, this is me. And I'm laying there on the pig of dappiness spiky doormat, and my neighbour gets back. It's like 1 a.m. She's like, she's like, you all right, dear? Do you want to stay in my? Because she's often having to knock on my door and give me my keys, because I've left them in the lock. But this time they weren't in the lock. They were somewhere in a field. And so I was like, actually. So she lets me in, and I sleep on her sofa. And then in the morning, I ring the locksmith, getting emergency lock put in.
No.
I've just paid £180.
No. Where were the keys?
No. It's worse. It gets worse. I've paid him £180 again for an emergency locksmith, for emergency replacement locks. And he lets me in. I sit down and sigh, have a cup of tea, and then I remember that I actually have a lockbox across the road with a spare set of keys in it. But I'd forgotten. My past self had done that to help future self, but present self hadn't got the memo and had forgotten that I'd actually done that. So that's what I mean about, we lay these like little life hacks down to help ourselves, but we forget we've done it. So
absolutely. You're right, actually, because I think when people talk about executive function with ADHD, they talk about having issues with memory, and I don't find
it's the biggest problem for me.
I don't think I find that much issue with memory, but then I cannot find anything. So obviously I can't remember where I put something.
Yeah, and and people say, "Oh, you're so organized," though, because they'll see the extreme militant lengths I go to prepare my future self. Like, I will email myself, look, you've got a lockbox across the road. I'll take a photo of it. I'll put it in my reminders list. But I'll still forget. And I've also got a tile I forgot that my brother gave me years ago. You know, one of those tiles?
No, they're brilliant.
On my key ring. But it's on my key ring. But I forgot I had it, and I noticed it the other day. It's like, wait, I could have just Bluetooth.
I find that so useful, having that. Honestly, I have it on my car
I've got
keys.
it. I forget I've got it, so I can't.
As a glamorous female lady woman person, you can't do it, but I have this non-fashionable chain that has my car keys, that has my house keys. Not for fashion, just because otherwise I will lock myself out. I will lose them. I will. And for my car keys, I have a tile thing which actually saved my life once when I was in the park walking a dog and dropped them somehow. So they were in the middle of a park. How would I have found that
that's
otherwise?
what I'd
So
actually
I
done
had
with
to
them.
just
They were
like
in a park. Yeah.
wait and find them. But I was going to suggest get a lockbox. It's really important. But
Yeah.
you already have.
Got one.
So
Got
well
one.
done.
Just
Yeah,
forgot that the
yeah.
keys were in it. Forgot that I had it. Unbelievable. And I got basically arrested for putting my bin in the putting my rubbish in the wrong bin, because you have to have a key to unlock the bins, and I'm always throwing the key away. So I've started putting my rubbish in the wrong bin, and I've got a fine. I've got a £300 fine from the council
£300.
for
So you've
putting
been
my rubbish
fly
in the wrong bin.
tipping.
I've
You've
been
been
fly
fly
tipping.
tipping
Yeah.
in Brighton.
Yeah, so now I've got criminal record. No, I
One of
haven't.
the
It's
only
not, but-
councils that had about 6 months of non-rubbish collection. You've been done. Nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
Hackney
Good.
Council.
Yeah.
But I did
Well-
explain that I'm prone to throwing keys away, and explained that I have
Did they
literally
care?
basically got dementia. The amount my brain doesn't
Did-
like. No, they didn't care. They were
No.
very apologetic that they said a crime has still been done. So
A crime. Yes,
Yeah.
crime. Yeah.
yeah,
Well. I mean, you don't get a criminal record though. Hopefully. For
I
that.
was concerned that I do, but I don't. No.
Oh,
So
well
I'm
done,
just going
well
to
done.
pay it, and I'm just going to retrofit. I'm very good at retrofitting expenditures. I'm going to pretend that I have paid for the pleasure of not having to open the key to remember my keys to throw rubbish away. And the amount that would have cost me in replacement keys is about £300.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've worked it. I've already earned it back. It's fine.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And yeah, go with that theory. But that brings us on to the whole thing, which actually I noted down earlier because it suddenly popped in my head of your science of ADHD tax, which
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't mentioned that with anyone I've talked to before, but I think it is one of the things that probably anyone without ADHD would go, what's you talking about? You're just like making this up. But unless you have it, and then you realize, yeah, I mean, I've had bailiffs for a congestion charge before in London,
Yeah,
and
'cause I don't
purely
drive,
I just forgot to pay it by the end of that night, which meant it went up to 80 quid. And then I wanted to complain and go, look, it was just a mistake and I've got the money. And then I forgot to do the complaining bit. And then really quickly it's escalated into, there's a bailiff at my door asking for £500. You know, it's like,
Really?
yeah.
How quickly? That's
Well, no, I mean,
frightening.
I'm saying really quickly, but I'm saying like it's no, but it is.
in
It's 4 or 5
ADHD
months.
time.
In ADHD
time is
I
yeah.
had the opportunity to pay it.
Oh,
I
God.
blew that. I had the opportunity to pay the higher fine and thought, no, that's not fair. I can't afford 120 for just driving into and then forgot to do anything about it, or maybe I sent an email and then they said an email doesn't work, you need to do this, and suddenly that's gone out of my mind, and within about 4 months I have a bailiff at my door saying I want 500 quid now, you know.
That's really
and
scary.
no,
Yeah.
but you think of what, going on a serious tip of what the mental health malfunction, and I think it's really traumatized me now. I'm not good with finances particularly, but it's made me, whenever there is a sudden oh my God, and you know how much admin goes wrong in general,
Yeah.
gas bills or anything.
I think I've definitely got dyscalculia, or however you say it. Numbers just dance around in front of my face. They always have. And I just used to cry over my maths homework. So I cannot do numbers. I just basically send my accountant everything every year and just go, good
Do it,
Lord.
please. Yeah.
and then there's about 3 weeks of back and forth where they go, we can't open this file because the file name's too long. Because what I do is I'm like, this is part of this thing. Slash
Version 4.
Yeah.
with
Definitely new final.
Including dates and I get that.
Awful.
But really with I get quite true. I don't have dyscalculia. I mean, I even did a maths A level.
You're freak.
So I did get an E in it, but
Was that worth your time?
well, it's still quite. I didn't work as a maths teacher, but towards the end of my teaching career, they did ask me to teach maths briefly, and
Wow.
apparently an E in your A level qualifies you for that. But yeah,
Wonderful.
it's wonderful. But it is a traumatic thing. What you're talking about is a trauma response. I used to have to teach the bottom class each year as they came in year 7.
I bet you had
and
real
try and-
empathy for them.
I
though.
did. I try and really reset their brains of look, guys,
Yeah.
you're not bad at maths. You just
Yeah.
are scared of it. it. And when you get scared, your whole brain shuts down.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is though. And that's what
Trauma
happens.
response.
And
I love that. Yeah.
But it comes from people
Wow.
when you're age 5 or 6 in a classroom, they were going 2 times 8 and pointing at you. And then you just go, ah! And you'd either go...
What do you mean? Pie. Stop talking about pie.
Yeah.
What?
I had this big one with a girl in year 7 going, but don't with algebra. And she said, they're letters. They're not numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with it. I go, no, I get that, but try and let go. Anyway, but with the ADHD tax, I find really I get proper traumatized in a similar way when just something goes wrong, like I get a council tax, like, reminder, which I didn't know I'd missed it, and what, and I can almost be in tears on the phone to them because I'm just I revisit all of these bailiffs, everything that's come up in my past, the
time. What I get upset about is people that relate to the symptoms of ADD and think they might have it, and they'll be like, yeah, my ADD's flared up, I've really got ADD at the moment. It's like, no, if you've got it, like it's debilitating disorder. And I'm like, honestly, a day, a month, I devote if I add it up, the time, at least a day, a month, going around in circles, retracing my steps, trying to rebuy back, look for the things I've lost, then going on the internet to try and find replacements, but it's been discontinued. So then I'm like finding it again. So now I just buy 3 of everything when I buy it because I have to put them in a drawer for when I've lost them. It is so the time and the money spent on stuff is just prohibitive. Absolutely.
Well, the last podcast I did, I mentioned the most ADHD thing was that I have bought 3 sets of earpod headphones, and you can see I'm not wearing them now
because
I've lost them.
Yeah.
3 sets, and my mum came to visit at the same time just before that, and she'd never visited me before as a single man, so I had the house really blitzed and tidied. So where could they be? I've done the whole place, could not find them anywhere.
Wow.
And 3 sets. And while I was doing the podcast, I was talking, my mum had said at one point, Chris, I don't mean to really try to help. I think if you put things away, you would find them easier. Which I was like, yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. Cheers. But and I was saying to the guest last time, and she was saying the phrase was objects impermanence. So she said she has to have things out because otherwise she thinks she doesn't have it anymore and goes out and buys it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes I am so like exhausted from looking for things that I will just buy it, even though it's probably still somewhere. And now I have just got multiples of things, and then people go, you need to have a clear out, you've got too much stuff. And I'm like, but it does just save me time if I've got multiples of things, like charging packs now for my phone. And
I've got 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah, and I'm actually now, I rotate them now, and I'm like, actually, that's working better for me because I'm never caught short now. I've always got one on charge. I've always got one in my bag. So
how long does it take you to start doing that then?
2 years. I think I've got 6 of them now, and that is working better. But I can't wear earpods. I'm not even going to try with earpods. Absolutely not. I still have these, and yes, the problem with these is, as you may have seen in my sketches, the one called Russian Doll, where I have slightly got I think dyspraxia as well. So I'm perpetually in entangle with all of my stuff. So these are very well untangled today, but I put them in my bag overnight, and the cable goblins come down from the ceiling out of a hatch, and they go with all of my stuff, and they'll mix it all up with everything, and then I'll take it out my bag, and I'll be like, seriously, how did that happen? And I'll be, I'll arrive somewhere, and my phone I have to wear around my neck because it's on a strap, so that's tangled up. My glasses are all tangled. This is tangled. Everything's a tangle, but that's better than trying to find there's no way I wouldn't lose the pods.
Well, that's what Ron in the last podcast said was, what are you doing with earpods? You need headphones, big things, because you won't lose them.
Yeah, I don't want to charge them up either. I'm really like, are you serious? Another thing that's Bluetooth. And also Bluetooth does not pair. It will not pair. There's inexplicable reasons why it's like, it says it's paired, but it's not paired. And no, that's a conspiracy. No one is admitting it, but there are loads of devices that just won't pair.
That's an ADHD thing, definitely.
Yeah. So I think there's a huge interplay between ADHD and technology that no one's also, I think, access to work doesn't understand. I spent I was till I was blue in the face explaining to my assessor, I have problems with storage. So I'm constantly backing everything up because the minute I delete any file, it will be the file that I need. By mistake, I've deleted the wrong file.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's a business expense. It's just memory space. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I can't decide. I can't prioritize because that part of my brain.
No,
doesn't
I think you've got a really good point there.
So
I think you've got a really good argument there.
I will either spend a day every week deleting files and reorganizing them with folders and subfolders that go on ad infinitum, or I'll just buy another £10 a month Dropbox storage so that I can dump it all in and get on with my actual work.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's a business expense. It's just storage. And I was like, no, you're not
No, I really don't think it is.
Why my disability directly leads to I can't do my job because I'm on the phone to San Francisco server going, Google, I've deleted a file by mistake and I really need it, and it took me 3 weeks to do, and they got it back. The people in IT support at Google, I was like, it was amazing, but that was so stressful. So yeah,
you're absolutely right. I mean, I totally agree. Like I work in video editing, which means the files are huge, and I'm continually and they say you need a backup physically in 2 places and one in the cloud, and it's like, as soon as I start trying to do that, I need so many disks that it's like insane, and as soon as I try and wipe one area that I'm using, inevitably I lose the most crucial, most important thing I could ever want to not lose so is the thing I delete. Myself, I delete it. And it's like, what?
True. And that is always true in my life. The minute I go, okay, I'm going to be a ruthless person and get rid of this, I don't need it. And I try and emulate my sister, who's amazing at throwing things away. And 100% of the time, the next day, I'll get asked to go on a shoot and I'll need that exact thing. Or, you know, every time. So that is, I'm not a hoarder.
No, I think you're really right that is. And I think, I think software companies also, there has to be a better system, because I've got a good mate who also has ADHD that's a record producer, and he has a very posh box that can go from his studio to his home that syncs everything up. But even then he's had issues with it.
There's always errors.
But there has to be a really good way of doing this. It strikes me that why isn't,
if you actually give into it, like I used to have a sort of, tech day. It ends up being a week though. Me and Lauren in lockdown, she drew a map. She drew a map of like how to back up all your files. And there's like a mothership. We've got this massive plug-in mothership of all the hard drives. And then all the hard drives have to plug into that once a year and back up themselves. I mean,
but there should be an automated way to do it. Anyway, I don't want to go into that.
It's
but it's
what I'm saying
horrendous.
Is every ADD I have, every ADD I know, uniquely struggles with tech and memory space and is always at capacity of storage and is at meltdown all the time.
Do you think that's because we're kind of hoarders? Do you think we're hoarding stuff on it?
But the reason we're hoarders is because the minute we delete things, it's the wrong thing. And it's also clinically because we want to do all the things. So we take part in everything, we start everything, that therefore we can't say no to things because we can't prioritize. So we've got too much going on and we're in, our lives are so full that's why everything's at capacity, whereas the ordinary neurotypical people can go, no, just say no to that.
Exactly. And on principle, I think from when I used to produce music and stuff, it's like there's always someone that wants to go back. Oh, can we go back and revisit that thing that we paid you for? And it's like, I have in my head, you must keep everything, just keep everything catalogued somewhere.
So creatively, it's a real hurdle with, I'm working on a sitcom based on my novel Breakup Club, and I've been turning that into a sitcom with Hat Trick, which is incredibly exciting. But it is
congratulations.
Thank you. But like, I think everything I work on, I'm always, but that was good, and like, I don't want to let that. I'm very good at killing my babies. That's what you're meant to do in all creative development. But it's also like, I will be like, but that read through we had, everyone said, oh, that's the best line, in creative writing, the sketch that we made, nothing kills a boner like the words click to read more. And at one point the director had cut it from the script and I was like, wait, what? That's like a good line. And that got so many laughs. I was like, oh, hang on, no. And so sometimes I'm right about the things that I've gone, no, we can't lose that. And they'll get the biggest laughs. And that's what people quote years from now. And I'm like, shit. So there is something in it.
I think sometimes though there is an element. I admire people that aren't. I mean, a lot of creative people I work with do have ADHD, even if they don't know it yet. But some that don't, I think there is an element sometimes where that you can go to the other extreme and it kind of works. So something like with that, okay, you kill it from that, but you know that that's a killer line you're going to use. Do you know what I mean? And you can be a little bit more mercenary with it.
Yeah,
and maybe
and so but I love being paired with either autistic people or neurotypical people, because I there's a magic that happens in with Life in ADHD, the web series we made, and I'm still making, like, we still have a million new sketches to do to it, but I had Tristan Alice Neto, who's an amazing editor, and she is autistic, and she was able to look at all the kind of mad, chaotic ramblings that I'd done, and I'd done all these kind of proof of concept sketches, and she was like, well, it needs a narrative throughout it that will keep people watching. And so she made sense of it, could see the wood for the trees, and it's won loads of awards and got nominated for best web series at Edinburgh, and it's kind of only through that literal symbiosis of her magical superpower and my chaotic superpower that's what I believe we need to be doing a lot more of, is putting people's brains together and putting ADHDers with autistic people and seeing what amazing things come out of it.
The guy Emre, who I'm going to be interviewing, I think the next one, but a friend of mine is the producer. He was telling me that the head of Universal in the UK, Universal Records, that is, I think he has autistic and or ADHD children, but he's made a real mission of actually trying to bring in working practices for neurodiverse people within Universal, like really made it a big thing, because he believes that people within that field it's really prevalent. I mean, in comedy, like, it's now almost become no longer a talking thing, because everyone's done so many comedy shows on it now that
it's frustrating, because I've been working
but your stuff is more, it's not so much, hey, I've discovered this, it's more focused
it's
on
more
that,
helping people feel understood, really.
I was going to ask you though, because that's one of the traits when I was looking through your bio of the numerous things you've done, books. You've written books, published books. You've had advertising career. You had briefly, not briefly. You had a career, exactly. And then those sketches you've done, and now the hat trick sitcom and stuff. So that seems to me one really obvious ADHD trait that you're exhibiting, like creativity, and in really different forms. Have you always been this creative?
Well,
I mean, how do you find this experience?
It used to be known as the Renaissance man, didn't it? We were doing loads of things, but it's interesting. I think exponentially, I've seen it get harder and harder, but better and better. Like when I was early 20s, I was much more focused, and I knew I had something wrong with my brain, or something different about my brain. But it was I think for me, the more life experience I've had, the more people I've met, the more travel I've done, the more Russian doll, because I'm wearing Russian doll babushka earrings, matryoshka dolls. It's like a kind of constant thought bubble explosion of ideas and different genres to work in, and that stimulus. I live in a state of suspended terror of new ideas, because I'm like, I know if I died in 50 years and get to my grave, I'm going to be going, hang on, I'm not done yet, wait, I'm just still finishing, hang on,
I need to do this. This was the really good one.
I'm going to be, there's an amazing Amanda Palmer song that's like, and when they put me in the ground, I'll start pounding the lid, saying I haven't finished yet. And it's like, oh my God, it's so true. That's how I'll be. And so I don't like it anymore. I want it to stop, but I can't help having new product ideas and new film ideas. It's just constant. And I used to be focused on just novels and advertising. That was it. And then it just, as I hit my 30s, it's exploded. And now it's, I've got kids books.
Just out of interest, I don't know if you relate to this, but I've noticed this myself. When I'm at my most, I guess, stressed, not stressed as in too much. I mean, as in I'm getting to a peak point of something very important in my life, whether that's like a crucial, like test point on a project I'm doing or whatever. That's the moment that my creativity really well goes and literally I'm having ideas that are good ideas. And I don't know if you find that, but I really find it's when I get into the worst point to be thinking of a new idea that I have some of my best ideas. And it's like,
and I'm actually like on a very important, crucial stage of developing the sitcom. And I'm also at the end of my savings, so I need to start doing more advertising work, but I'm also just had all these inventions that I know could actually change the world, and I'm like, no, but there's a voice in me going, no, that this is too good to ignore, you need to do this could help people. I'm like, oh, you're right, it's there's a kind of rising balloon feeling of like, oh, this is actually can't ignore this, got to do this.
But it may even be because, I mean, they say the neurotransmission is to do with like noradrenaline and stuff. So it could be that we're starting to pump the adrenaline properly because we're getting close to a real stress point, and thereby our creativity really kicks in.
And so your antennae are on more, and it's definitely energy. It's definitely energy related, because that's why you get, weirdly, this invention I've had has come from a completely different space I was dating this guy that had an aeroplane, and he has this product he's made for his aeroplane, and I was like, no, hang on, that's that's a neurodiversity management tool, that's amazing, we should put my brain and that product together, and now we're developing this product, which I've got to tell you about. But that came from a really weird space, but there's someone else in Hove that has invented something very similar for the same reason, and it's completely weird. It's completely different mechanically, but it's come from the same place. And
they live in the same town as you as well.
Yeah, but it's like you get that all over the world. People have the same idea at the same sort of time, and it's. But going back to the IT tech thing ADDers have, I think we resonate on. This is going to sound really woo-woo, but my friends and I, when we all get together, and we're all neurodivergent, stuff goes wrong on technology around us. It just breaks. It just goes, it can't cope. The vibration that we're all operating at energetically, there's always some mad, weird breakage that the IT person will be like, oh, that's weird, never seen it do that before. And I fully believe that there's some energy you can't see.
I've no idea. I mean, I work in technology, and the cable thing, I mean, doing music, like production, I'm always undoing cables. No matter what I do with them, they're always tangled. But also it's the thing I hate the most is cabling and stuff like that. And yet when I'm at a party randomly, the sound system will go down, and I'll watch people start trying to fix it, and I'll be like, I'm going to have to get involved, because you need to be really systematic and work out and it's just like, oh, my life is dominated by this stuff. So
it's so brutal, and yet we need it to make our ideas happen.
So, out of interest, when were you diagnosed then?
It was late 20s, and then I moved to South London and moved to a different borough, and then got completely professionally gaslit by the medical industry, and they were like, no, you don't. I then moved back to Hackney, and they said, no, it's not ADD, it's anxiety. And I was like, no, literally, you put me on medication, I had the diagnosis, everything. And they just literally, I was like, what is happening? This is insane. And then I had to go to Melbourne and just start again. I happened to be in Melbourne. I met a comedian. She was like, how have you made it through life this far without medication? You really need to go see my psychiatrist. And so I did, and he did an actual attention test, where you take a test, see your attention speed, then you take medication side by side, and he said you have it quite severely, and I'll put you on some dexamphetamine. And that's where it began. And then I got home back to Hackney and saw the same
psychiatrist. They wouldn't let you again.
Said, he said, I forgot to say previously, he said, well, I just can't tick the box that says you have it because you've got a first at uni, you've had 3 books published, and he said you've held down a job, you'd be on that windowsill. So he wouldn't tick the box. And then I came back to him a year later, and I said, look, I've had a diagnosis privately now in Melbourne, even though you gave me one before, but you've lost the records. And he said, all right, you do seem in a better way. I can see it's not depression, actually, and anxiety. Here you go, I'll refer you. And that was it. But that was 10 years later.
But that's appalling. But it's appalling.
I was crying on the phone. I remember being at my mum's house, just crying on the phone to the GP, just going, you don't understand, this isn't.
But if you don't know you've got ADHD, then all you've got is the shame of feeling, well, from my perspective, inadequate as an adult human being, because we just feel we are not functioning like other people. And I think one of the worst things with ADHD are the extremes that you get. So you can be extremely creative and never stop, like, working hard, and at the same time missing deadlines on other things. So people think you're lazy, but you're certainly not lazy, because you're non-stop working. Or, you know, you can be ridiculously meticulous with how you create something, and really
attention to detail,
complete perfectionism,
obsessive.
and at the same time can't read an email with a date on it that you get wrong completely. So, like, and I think that disconnect of all of these, like, extremes is actually what messes with our heads most. Is that how does that compute? How can I be really skilled at this and really useless at this in my head? Like, how is that possible? And I think, but as a woman, it seems more and more documented. Again, I mentioned this in the last podcast, that someone was telling me, even on physical anatomy, I don't have this as a fact, but that actually female physical anatomy is only an optional course at medical school. So, like, that's quite amazing, you know, and but it's so true. Like the last guest said, it's like, you know, people are diagnosed with bipolar. She was diagnosed as bipolar, like, when she wasn't, like depression, anxiety, or as she put it, you seem a bit stressed. You know, like this sort of thing. If you're a woman, you know, it's just
calm down.
Exactly. And yet even now there are people turning people down because they have a job, because they aren't, you know, suicidal. But the worrying thing is, people are suicidal off it if they're not treated. You know,
I was very, very low. Some very dark places, and you know, like. And now I look back, I can't believe the things I've achieved since then, and I'm so love my life. I'm so happy and so proud, but also so exhausted from trying to make all the things happen.
I think we almost have to know the diagnosis to be able to start being proud. I don't mean we're proud because we've got ADHD, but it's very easy for ADHDers to not think of the things they've accomplished. We always think of the next thing that we aren't doing, you know,
but that's why I think going back to the diagnosis journey for me has felt like, you know, the Crystal Maze show where
get out. Sorry,
So that's why I created this sketch called the admin zone, and it's basically like, to get the crystal, which is diagnosis and medication, you have to go into the admin zone where you do a series of tasks that are all about memory, focus, prioritizing. You're asked to do all of the things you clinically can't do without, you can't do because your brain is.
You have to chase up people on your first form that you fill in. You've got to fill out a form. That's another thing. You've got to,
and then you've got this patient portal thing that's about logging in with memory. Every month I have to log into the patient portal and then get a verification code and password, and it's horrendous.
And now here we are in the admin zone. Lola, you've got 2 minutes to retrieve your ADHD meds before your brain's dopamine levels run out. Your time starts now.
Okay, so there's a form here called Your Struggles with Focus and Memory.
Very good.
Fill out your entire medical history, scan in school reports, letters from parents or... Oh, look, a pigeon.
Oh, dear.
No, honestly, look, there really is a pigeon.
And now here we are in the admin zone. Lola, you've got 2 minutes to retrieve your ADHD meds before your brain's dopamine levels run out. Your time starts now.
Okay, so there's a form here called Your Struggles with Focus and Memory.
Very good.
Fill out your entire medical history, scan in school reports, letters from parents or... Oh, look, a pigeon.
Oh, dear.
No, honestly, look, there really is a pigeon.
Oh, no, right, you are.
It's handed me a scroll.
A scroll, dear.
With a phone number on it.
Isn't that an old brick phone over there? Yeah, tangled up in that web of cables.
The number.
Try the number on it.
Try the number.
Welcome to the Patient Portal Gateway. Press 1 for appointments. Press 2 for prescriptions. Press 3 if you got distracted and need those options again.
Pay attention.
Welcome to the Patient Portal Gateway. Press 1 for appointments. Press 2 for prescriptions. You are in queue position 14. You are in queue position 14. You are in queue position 127.
What? I'm on 1% battery now.
It's right there.
It's okay. Stay calm. I think you're through.
Hello? Yes? Okay, so what I need...
Prescriptions are accessed via a two-step verification process.
Language.
Sorry.
And a passcode will be sent in the mail.
That's it. I'm out.
2-step verification. Try taking 2 steps to your left, dear.
Come on, just focus.
Moving and...
Boom.
New room. I can see the patient portal on the other side of this massive abyss of hot lava.
That is a lot of lava.
There's stepping stones.
What's that, Mumsy? Mumsy says that these stepping stones are tasks. To reach the other side, you must put the following in priority order. So what comes first, Kate? Is it going to be your tax return, or the mole, get that looked at, or pay your overdue gas bill?
Only you can do this.
How long have I got?
Got about 30 seconds, dear. 30 seconds.
You are joking.
I didn't want to say anything, dear, but you have actually been in there for 2 days.
Lola, please.
Just want to go home.
Come on, just go with your gut.
All my gut ever says is that I'm hungry.
We'll get your sandwich soon, dear. Come on.
Okay, here goes. Yes, I'm through to the patient portal. There's an old man here writing a prescription onto some parchment with an actual feather, but he's sealing it.
No, dear, he's encrypting it. Give him your memorable word, dear.
I don't remember having to pick a memorable word.
Pull the forgotten password lever.
Go on, pull it.
Says hoop. What does hoop mean?
What are you going to do, Kate? What are you going to do?
Corner.
There's a hoop.
Just jump through that literal hoop.
That's it, Kate. And 5, 4, 3, 2,
go.
Yes, Lola, you did it.
Hi. Yeah, I just need some methylphenidate, please.
That's a controlled drug. We don't keep those in stock.
What?
You'll have to come back in 5 to 8 working days.
Life in ADHD.
The thing is, it's inherently funny. The whole thing is inherently funny, but also so tragic. And that's the essence of the comedy that I make, is melancomedy.com. Like it's sad things that are actually really
But
funny.
I do find that most people with ADHD have actually, I think that's why comedians often have ADHD. They have quite a high level of resilience. That's why it's not often depression, because we can wake up in the morning and think, right, we've got a day, we can do this, and get up, and we, admittedly by 5 o'clock, especially if we're not diagnosed yet, it's completely turned into a nightmare. But we don't get up most days going, what's the point? This is awful. We don't. Like, we actually have quite a drive to keep going.
Yeah, I've got huge drive. I do struggle getting up in the morning because it's like I'm in the brace position every morning. I'm like,
ready.
Because by the evening, it's like everything's doing all the things, and I'm like, I'm stopped.
But,
and I describe it as having I've got no air traffic control center in my brain, so all my thought airplanes crash into one another.
But I now notice that. I now actually notice that, and sometimes it's when I'm on medication. Sometimes I go, oh God, I've got to take my medication, but I really notice it more, and therefore I don't berate myself. At least I can go, okay. I don't know why, but right now I have, like you said, thought planes coming over from everywhere. And I'm not managing to focus, but at least I know that now. So I'm not going to try and set my goal too high today for what I've got to get done, because it's not happening. I also think I've really been reprogramming my brain quite well to not, at the end of the day, if you've had a chaos, it's 5 o'clock and everything that you wanted to do has gone out the window. You've managed to get a parking ticket and something else and all of this stuff. I've got myself around to thinking that usually there is a positive to see from this, not as in, oh, that's a good experience, but as in, hang on, that's been a nightmare of a day, but actually I've got through it and I've resolved that, and that. Whereas 2 years ago, a year ago, I would spend my time going, God, what is wrong with me? This is awful. And it's really helping actually make me a lot less berating of myself, because I don't think it helps us. I think we do it enough, to be honest.
No, the main thing I always say is, compassion for yourself, but also just really try and flip it and see where the funny side is, and can you laugh at this situation? Can you laugh at the fact that you're in the inside a bin again, looking for your keys? Like, that's been my lifeline. It doesn't matter what medication they've put me on and the therapy and all of that. It's been turning that into comedy. And it's just... This
new relationship I was having, I am having, hopefully. This lovely Ukrainian lady, woman, friend, female thing. 2 days ago,
You've not had the conversation yet, so you're not saying girlfriend. Is that why?
Girlfriend. But yeah, she the other day she passed a theory test, and I offered to take her to that, and then she said, "Can we stop at Argos?" So we stopped at Argos. Why do you want to go to Argos? Okay. And then she came back, and I said, "You don't have anything from Argos?" She went, "No. I've realised I ordered it from the Leicester Argos, not the Lemon Miles."
Amazing.
And I went, "Oh
Love
my
that.
goodness. This is my soulmate. I found the person that is like, this is brilliant."
You didn't have to go to Leicester.
No.
did you? Surely you just cancelled it and then-
Briefly
yeah.
thought about it, but no, that's ridiculous. So she was told that she could change it again online, which she did, and then arrived at the
Great.
shop to find out she'd ordered it for a second time to Leicester as well.
Wow.
I'm just like,
Oh my
and she sort of
goodness.
laughed when I said, "I think I found my soulmate. This is brilliant." And then she went, sort of also looked quite scared at me as well, like.
Yeah. It's soon to be declaring that.
But you do know what I mean with the whole, like, I get that. I totally
I
get
think-
that. That's exactly what I would do.
I think dating is such an interesting one. Like, do you want someone that's the same, or do you want someone that's like the flip side and can complement you? Every relationship I'm sort of trying out
different
things.
options.
I'm
I
like,
have no idea. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I'm not into you. We like astrology and stuff, but I love looking at it just out of like curiosity. And in this one,
Yeah.
apparently, we are kind of opposites, but really should connect. But
Yeah.
she did say to me that she normally goes for people that she likes to make her feel more organised. So that I'm not normally her
Yeah.
type, but it seems to be working anyway. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Aw.
But I was going to ask, actually, talking about relationships, because your books have been about breakup, a couple of them, haven't they? At least, yeah.
Well, there's three of them. The first one is about finding love. The second one is falling in love.
This
and the
breakup.
third one is falling out of love. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I'm just wondering, like, how that may interact with like RSD and stuff. Do you find that's how big an issue is that to you, if it's not rude to ask, and how much do you think it interferes with relationships?
Oh, it's hugely. Yeah, I call it attention dating disorder. I think RSD is something I manage fairly well, because I'll just be like, well, that's I'm feeling more than I should be. Let's just pedal that back and write my diary and sit with the feelings and stuff, because it's blowing out of proportion, the feeling of rejection, when actually, you know, it's not as big a drama as you think it is. And so I'm a lot stronger with that. What I struggle with is ending relationships. I don't like being the one to end it, because I know I'll have got attached in some way and I'll have feelings, and then the breakups are worse than death, because someone is dead to you but they're still alive. You just don't see them anymore, because I generally like to just cut.
I think it has
them
to
and
be
not
the
friends.
case at some point.
Yeah, because if you want to start healing, you need to stop seeing their face everywhere, and so don't look at photos of them, don't listen to music. You just got to start grieving.
No, that's the word, grieving. Someone used that with me the other day. Yeah.
So I like to. Well, the problem is I feel a lot of grief and pain, but if I've ended it, I'll feel the grief and pain and blame myself for the grief and pain. Yeah. So I'd prefer it if they've ended it, and that's not to say I'll behave appallingly to make them end it. I'll just really try and give it as long as I can, and then be like, we'll get to the mutual point of going, oh, I guess this isn't working really. And then I haven't. Yeah, that's generally how they end, and I don't. Yeah, because otherwise if I end it, I'll just be like, oh, what if I made a mistake? What if I don't find anyone I like as much? And so yeah, that's generally where I get to. And then I guess there's a sense of there's a natural link between people that are polyamorous and people with ADD, because I think you do the feeling of I want to do all the things. I want
to do all the things.
I'm attracted to lots of people, but I think once there's real love there with someone, I'm much more monogamous, and I do think I wouldn't want a life of poly, where I have got a lot of friends that are ADD.
So I think that
poly,
would trigger eventually quite a bit of RSD if you did have a life of that.
Yeah, it does, and it's a lot of admin being poly, from what I hear. You've got to constantly message everyone, check everyone feels safe and respected and loved. And
Jeez,
like, how have you got time? I haven't got time for one boyfriend. Wow. It doesn't. I don't know how.
To me, that sounds great as a sort of ethereal concept, but I can't see that working.
But really, when it comes down to it, think it can work. And yeah, the RSD paranoia of
I've also, I mean, I've had an issue where, like, I think RSD can also really affect workplaces as well. But I think my own thing on it that I've really noticed is once I hit a spiral, and there's such a massive change in my personality when I am feeling like that. And then, like, I think it scares people. Not in I'm never sort of scary to others, but they're scared of because my mood is completely different of what I might do to myself, this sort of thing. But one thing I've noticed is when you try and imagine you're in like a quicksand, like the 50s cowboy films, and you try and throw a rope out to a friend or someone that you think is rejecting you, and you're like, but I'm just gonna be honest, are you and like I find it always goes wrong. It's like one of the worst things you can do. It actually never resonates well at all. It's like actually really rarely ever works. The only thing I've found that can work is when actually, and you can't ask for this, it just has to happen, is I've noticed physical contact. I've read somewhere sometimes, like someone just putting their hand on your knee, putting their arm around you or something can really reduce it dramatically, much better than talking. Because if they talk, you'll still misinterpret, or you'll still go, but I don't know. But yeah,
words sometimes aren't the solution.
But I was going to say something. You did quite a bit of stuff on meds recently on radio. I heard a show. I was going to ask you, have you heard any updates on what's going on there? Because I found an independent pharmacy that's really good for getting me my meds now. I have no issues with that.
Wow.
But a few friends just this week have said we're not getting. One of them said it's related to since the Microsoft blow up 2 weeks ago. You know, when Microsoft went down, they haven't been able to get their meds at all. And I don't know where you're at with being able to or not. Like.
It certainly did blow up. I was at a time when I was just the BBC Radio go-to correspondent to come and talk about the crisis. And my point with it has been from day one, like, it's already too hard to get meds. Like, it's a horrible crystal mezabenzin, and the thought of it getting any harder is a nightmare. But I have just this week finally remembered to log into the patient portal and request my monthly. And request that and do all that saga. But I haven't heard back whether it's in stock yet, and I haven't begun. There's the saga that is ringing.
Well, that's it. You won't know until you then
when
find
they're permanently engaged. So I can't get through, and then I go there in person and say, just to let you know, I've put my repeat prescription in. Can you see if you've got any in stock? Oh no, we haven't got any in stock. Would you be able to proactively order it, knowing that my prescription's on the way? Oh no, we can't do that until we've got the prescription. Oh my God.
I was advising the people on the people I work with and their clients that I think my only experience is that go to independent ones is more helpful, because I think the bigger companies have big contracts with their suppliers. So if their one supplier doesn't, if they don't have it,
this is
if they don't have it, then if their supplier has a shortage, they can't go somewhere else easily for it, whereas an independent one can. Also, the other thing, I'm only saying this for the benefit of anyone who might be listening that might have an issue with it, is the different dosages. Say you're on 70 milligrams of Elvance or something. The independent people might well go, but I can get you double the 35s. But that means a redoing of your prescription with
this has been like years of titration and trying every different. They could only get me 60 milligram. I'm used to.
That's I think the shortage is the 60s at the moment.
It's really bad. So no, I don't know yet. I need to go in there and ask, have you got them? And but as I always say, comedy is the best meds. That's our strap line. Because it's like, whatever shortage there is, you just got to find a way to laugh. Because having ADD is clowning. Like,
well, I think you have to. I mean, like, I can only joke about it. Like I said, this new relationship, I can only go every now and then. I go, I think you do need to realize this is something you need to get slightly used to. But other than that, it's like, well, congratulations with your new boyfriend. This is what it's like.
Yeah. It's interesting how early on do you stop masking and just be like,
I think girls
Actually,
are
I'm really
trained more
tired
to mask than I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
my mum has ADHD, but she's hyper organized she always has had a tiny diary that she
Yeah.
writes everything that's coming up in. And if she doesn't have that, it's all out the window. Like she's constantly
Yeah,
stimming, moving, her brain is working at
Oh,
100
really?
miles an hour, very
Wow.
creative, very but equally and distracting. Like if I try and talk to her about something, she goes off in another direction but at the same time,
Wow,
he's
yeah.
hyper organized and hyper tidy. So I think that comes from a masking. I mean, when I used to
Yeah.
teach kids, you have girls are very good. Where does this come from? I don't know if this is nature. I don't know. It could be misogynist culture. Who knows? But in secondary schools, boys from about the age of 11 can never remember pens. Just one pen they can't bring to school, right? Girls at the beginning of each term have a new pencil case that they're very proud of. And they've organized it into a beautiful assortment of,
Definitely,
So
yeah.
I think it's culturally already in us that we have to do these masking
Yeah.
ADHD things. They're already there, you know?
I'm not like that anymore with pens. I've either basically got 9 pens in my bag or none. There's no middle ground anymore now. And that's the same with what we were saying earlier. I've got a pen, I try and put a pen in every bag or handbag or
I think I saw a sketch
or
about your
mem-
pens
yeah.
as well on one there.
Oh yeah, Lauren's got. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, yes, Lauren's got this kind of complete stationary pawn set of beautiful multicolored pens from
Don't
Thailand.
touch
This was special
them.
stuff from Thailand. And I was like, she was like, you can use this one, not this one though. It was
No,
so cute.
we used to get that in
Systems.
year 10 or something. I'd be saying to the kids,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, I've now run out. I used to take pens to school to lend to, and I'm now run out. So
Yeah.
I'm really sorry to be saying, is there a girl that could lend this boy a pen? And they'd be all like,
No. No,
Yeah,
too pretty. Not letting
no.
me.
That's my gel
Yeah.
pen. I never use for anything else but putting little hearts
Yeah.
above my eyes. Sorry, no, yeah.
Glitter. Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to quickly play. I've got this like silly little.
Oh, actually, look. Sorry. This is my shell highlighters. Look at them. Mermaid, because I'm a mermaid.
No,
as well.
that's it. I
one
was
of
going to
my
mention to you is like
things.
with your breakups and stuff. I mean, I'm surprised you struggle with breaking up with people because with the name Lorelei, you got quite a reputation of being a mermaid that destroys men's lives, as they call
Yeah,
you.
she's
Call
very-
to them
yeah,
with your
she's got-
ukulele and they come and crash on your rocks.
Yeah. She's got uber bad RSD, the Lorelei. Jesus. She's like, the ultimate broken-hearted. Yeah. It's true. No, that's my namesake, but no, I'm the nice Lorelei. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got this little
Yeah.
game I like to try and play. So I'm going to try and share the screen. I'm going to edit this later, but I haven't come up with there was a pun on some of the previous podcasts with people's names, but Lorelei's not the easiest with that. So it's like a wheel of
Amazing.
fortune. I'm going to spin it. When it lands on one, if there's a story or a way you relate to it, just say.
Oh, that noise is mental. Thinking.
I personally, in
Yeah.
my own mind, think that people with ADHD are blatantly very much more quick thinking than
They're
you know,
definitely
than
very
the
quick thinking.
neurotypical
Yeah.
peers.
Yeah.
But and that can be to our detriment as well, quite often.
Mm.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I think it's why I'd say I live in a permanent state of fear. So I just remember being in meetings in advertising a lot.
They're the worst.
And sitting there desperately wanting to speak because I'll have a million ideas all the time and I'm trying to balance them. So I'll be quickly thinking of ideas and people will sit there going, how have you thought of that just there and then? And it'll be the briefing for the creative brief, but I'll have sometimes I'll have
So here's the
there and then, and
logo,
that's
the slogan. I've got it there, and we'll be filming it
Yeah,
from above
yeah, and I
with
remember
a
doing that.
drone. It's all sorted done. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's just staring at me going, how did you do that? But it's the thing of the torment of you don't want to we sort of live in the gap between the torment of not wanting to interrupt someone and be rude, but also the fear that if we don't say the thought that's just come to us very quickly, it will have melted like a Dali clock. in the background, and it's like you're in Clapham Junction and all the trains are going by and stopping and going. It's the busiest station, and that's your brain, and it's just so fast that you're going to miss the train if you don't get on the train. And
definitely, I work with my brother a bit at the moment. He's an elder brother, and he really doesn't like being interrupted at all, and also can. I hope he's not listening to this bit, but he can also explain something 3 times to me when I've already understood it.
Yes.
But
yes, that's
there are times
definitely
recently, because we've been doing a lot of stuff on new ideas that we're going to be working together on. And it's like, I'm trying to type it into my phone because he's not letting me interrupt him, and I will forget it. And every time there's like, I had a really good idea and now it's gone. It's actually gone.
It's awful. And I can't bear that grief. The grief of a lost thought, a lost idea. Will it ever come back to me? And then I'll have to then say, look, I'm sorry, we're going to have to work backwards to that so that I can get back to the thought. What was I saying? And the feeling when you do is like euphoria, because you know if you've got the thought back.
Give up. Yeah. I'll give up going, hang on, what was it? I was thinking that. No, I can't remember. He'll start talking again, explaining something for a 3rd time again. And then I'll go, that's it, I've got it. And now he doesn't want to be interrupted. I just go around in circles.
Yeah, I find it really difficult. And I do, and people I work with, like my agent and producers and stuff, they'll always be like, oh, just let's focus on this. We're talking about this right now. But my head is everywhere. So I always say, I've got, our brains are like lightning speed, rapier sharp, but in all directions at once at the same time. Everyone else you're with is like forward, going straight forward with a sat nav, focused. And I'm off in all the B roads and I'm everywhere. I'm going backwards, forward, behind. And I can't turn that off.
But there reasons for that, because we might be asking something. So say we're being focused on one thing in an advertising meeting or something. Yeah. And we say, but hang on, can I just bring up, because you know that it relates to other parts of what you're doing as a project. And you'll go, but I'm suddenly realizing if we do it like that, that will affect this. So you're trying to go, but can I just point out, sorry, can we stay focused on this? No, don't, but this is important because it will come in now, later. No, literally, we'll come to a hurdle. Can we just focus on? Yeah. Basically, can you shut up, Chris? Okay, I'll shut up. And inevitably, and then give it 3 weeks. There is the issue right in front of their faces, and you can't even say that's what I was saying because they don't want to hear it because they now realise that's why you were saying it. And
that's why Greta Thunberg is right. But our house is on fire. I'm autistic. I black and white. I can see it's on fire, but you can't deal with it yet because you're busy having a meeting. It's why it takes a neurodivergent brain to see those
I also
things.
think that when we are having meetings, it's a good example, meetings, for how I think attention deficit is not really the right term. I think focus is perhaps an issue, but I think in most of those sort of meetings, you'll find that we will have taken in more than the neurotypical person there. We would have taken in most people's facial expressions, what's going on outside the window, the fonts they've used on the PowerPoint they're showing us. They're like, and actually it's just an overload of what we're taking in most of the time.
Yeah. And I also suffer with having too many more ideas than people want. So this guy I'm seeing at the moment, I keep having unsolicited ideas and giving them, and we have a joke about it. I call it, it's like unsolicited. You don't need this idea, but I've thought of it, so I'm going to tell you. But he's actually really good at just going, I don't need that. It's not what I asked for. I'm not even going to tell you it's a good idea. I don't need it. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like really crushed. And he's like, no, it's actually quite liberating. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll shut up. But I do have this terrible habit of everyone I meet, everything I go to, every talk I go, I will have to go up to the speaker at the end and go, I know you don't need this, but I've thought of this kind of strap line for your company or a marketing on it you do. You could. Sometimes they'll go, yeah, that's nice, and use it. So other times they'll just.
But I think that's but that really is an advantage. It's a passion, isn't it? When we have passion, we can't stop ourselves from contributing to things. And
also I don't like the idea to not get a chance at life. They're little babies. I want to. Help them.
And also like I said, passion is something that. Okay, it can be a bit unbridled, and we can sort of possibly at some things people think, okay, you're talking a bit much, can you stop contributing, or whatever it is. But at the same time, it gives us the advantage, I think, often in interviews and stuff, that we come across as fully on point in our passion.
Yeah, very engaged. Yeah.
Let's try another one. How are your time management skills?
Good. Yeah,
really good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like military.
I live. No, I live in a different time zone. Have you seen the sketch? It's a module. So we have this character, Professor Penny, who is there to explain. She has a PH ADHD, and she explains loads of different facets to ADHD in comedy terms, but with pseudoscience. So she explains, if you go the sketch, I don't know what it's, how to work out timekeeping with ADHD. Oh no. So this is how to calculate what time your friend with ADHD you can expect them to arrive, and it's GMT plus 2 hours is the general time zone of ADHD, but there's a formula to getting where you're going on time, and it is like I can't remember what it's like. T is the desired arrival time plus signal failure to the power of optimism, and it's just you have to go see it, but we can play the audio of it on here. But essentially, it's about, obviously we're not going to get where we're going, and it is roughly 2 hours late, but we do, I think. It's just time is not a real concept.
No, hang on. I actually have.
We live outside.
Funnily enough, I think maybe we were ahead of our time on that. I'll explain in a second. But yes, there's a good bit in ADHD 2.0 where they just simplify it into saying, with people with ADHD, there is now and not now, and that's it. But
exactly.
But I actually think, I don't want to go too philosophical here, but in certain ways there are schools of thought that even philosophically may argue that time is just a human construct, because most animals don't factor time at all. It's just something that we understand, as it were. And actually,
all you've got is
and even within physics, like time doesn't work. That's why there are problems with certain physical, like with relativity and something like that. Anyway, point being that actually time isn't quite right, and we haven't fully worked it out yet, but let's not think about that now. I just thought I'd share with you.
But I think it's better to play a clip of that.
I will do. I'm going to.
It's a while since I tried to describe
I'm going to add it in, definitely.
ADD time. As a result of poor temporal awareness, people with ADHD operate in a completely different time zone to those without. Roughly speaking, this equates to Greenwich Mean Time plus 2 hours. When making an arrangement with somebody with ADD, be sure to use this handy formula to calculate what time you can expect them to arrive. We take the desired arrival time, T, divided by the number of unavoidable re-entries into one's flat for forgotten items, R. We then multiply by the square root of signal failure to the power of optimism. To recap, this is T over R multiplied by the square root of S to the power of optimism, which equals clusterfuck.
I just want to state, for the benefit of the camera, that Lorelei has just said to me the most ADD thing she's ever said in all the time I've known her. So we're doing some filming today. There's a taxi on its way here. Anyway, she's gone to get the Uber, and she called upstairs and went, "He's going to be 1 minute. Should we do it?" Like, run back upstairs, shoot a whole scene, get back downstairs and answer the door, because we've got 1 whole minute to do all those things before the guy in the Uber turns up. I mean, what?
Life in ADHD.
Let's try one more, see if anything comes up that is useful. ADHD tax is a good sketch as well you've done, which I might put in there as well.
It's what was it? The ADHD tax return. Yeah, I think that's something I want to do more with every January. Make sure everyone completes them, and like making sure you file your receipts for all the things that you've lost money on. And it's dreadful, it really is.
Yeah. That's another major tax, isn't it? I mean, the number of people I know with ADHD that have actually not filed their tax return on time and then have a huge bill to pay and all of this stuff.
And I do think, I know no one will ever, this will never happen, but I do think, because I have it really severely, I lose so much money to ADHD tax. I do think the government there should be a kind of statutory payment. We should get a rebate from the government. If you fill it out really clearly, like this is an idea I need a designer to help. A graphic designer could make a really serious looking tax looks just like the self-assessment.
ADHD tax return.
Yeah.
But,
is there anyone, please, could someone get in touch to
that'd be great if they could
execute that idea?
Yeah.
Because I could oversee the creative direction on it, but it would look just like the form, but it's all written as, tell us what you did that was a catastrophe, how much did it cost you, and we will give you a rebate of £2,500 to make up for it.
I'm just putting this in context. So we mentioned an ADHD tax earlier. You mentioned, I mentioned bailiffs for not paying a congestion charge. I've just gone blank. You meant
emergency locks.
Yeah, emergency locks. Right, yeah, that's another one.
Locksmiths. Yeah.
When I first was in contact with you about 6 months ago, you were on your way to London, and
I was in a taxi on Christmas Eve.
Yes, and they had cancelled all the trains at the last minute, but now you couldn't get another train, so you had to get a taxi from Brighton to London, and no choice, but that was the only way. I've just to come back. I've missed a flight home from Ibiza by a day.
Wow.
And caused two of my friends also, and my girl. So we all had to pay about £300 extra for that return.
No, you caused
Yeah, no, but and worse was they owed me money from the trip to Ibiza, and then that was not going to come back. So never mind.
Oh my goodness.
But that's quite a big tax. What about even on the most basic levels of? I mean, this goes from leaving heating on, for example,
Ooh, I've got one.
How many times can you wash one round of clothes? I don't know if you have this, but
how many times can you reheat the kettle?
Yeah, boiling a kettle. Wow, definite.
Refilling the bath so many times and leaving. I left the bath running like, it doesn't bear thinking about, and re-microwaving my dinner to the point where it's just not food anymore. And I also currently, there's one in Brighton specifically where I spend some of my time because I have a writer's retreat that I come and work in and rent out the rest of the time. But there's a specific problem with the buses in Brighton and Hove. I don't know if it's other regional buses, but oh my goodness, I feel directly vindicated by this. You get on the bus, you touch in like a normal process, right? Then to get off the bus, you're supposed to touch off again.
You do this in London with TfL now.
That's like, you've got it. So my phone is like a stupid model where there's no thumb anymore. It's just a stupid slidey thing, so you have to put your code in because it doesn't recognize my face properly, and also that my face is not where the thing is, so it doesn't geographically match up. So anyway, I'm there to touch out of the bus. It takes about a minute to do, and I'm holding the whole bus up. I don't want to do that, and sometimes 99 times out I won't remember to touch out, so I am pay the full fare. So I don't remember to touch out because there's no barrier in my way like there is on the tube. You have a barrier, you can't get through. But on the bus, you can just step off, and you're supposed to remember to stand and do this admin. So of course I don't. And so you pay the full fare.
You pay like a maximum fare every time on it. Yeah.
So that is 100% ADHD tax persecution against a minority group of people.
And we won't stand for it anymore. Yes.
And I'm like, this is wrong. It needs to change. But I don't have time to. But please, let's start a campaign.
Yeah, I'll start one now. Yes. But definitely, I think just all of those things, if you think about reheating food, buying food that you never eat, all of these things that just never, just go wrong completely for us. It's huge. It's a huge amount of money. Literally, if you think putting the washing machine on 3 times for one round of clothing because you forgot to take it out and hang it up and that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, right. I'm going to ask you one last question, if it's all right there, Lorelei. So the last question was going to be, which I ask most people, and this one's a weird one. It's and don't take it too seriously because I've had people before. I'll explain in a minute, but it's just, if you could go back in time and have your life without ADHD, would you take it?
Oh, wow.
I don't need to be too serious. Like I had when I did the Richard Bacon one, he was like, but you can't ask that because how would you know? I mean, and he got quite stressed about it. And I was like,
who would you be?
No, it's just a flippant question. It's really not the end of the world. But I'm just interested because I know my answer to it, to be honest, but I don't know.
I think obviously the answer is no, isn't it? Because you wouldn't be that person. But I'm just going to say yes because I want
You want to know what it'd be like, yeah.
I know I wouldn't have the career I have. I wouldn't have been creative. I want to know because I do meet creative people that seem to not
neurotypical,
have ADD,
yeah,
and still function. And I'm like, how is this there? There's lots of I've met lots of writers and advertisers. And I'm like, you're able to exist in the world and function, and you're a creative and you're really successful at being a creative.
I think the more,
to me, that's not fair.
I think the more creative people are,
yeah,
I think in my experience, the more creative people are, I think it's got to be almost heading towards majority of neurodivergent, which is huge.
No, I don't.
But that's for me. That's in my in my experience.
Yeah, I'm going to say no. Sorry, I'm going to say yes to be controversial because I do. It is really hard. I do really struggle.
That's what my last guest, Rose, a painter and photographer, she was saying no. She felt she was much closer. She's much more recently diagnosed, which is what I put it down to. But I just find with me, I think all I've got to cling on to that I'm proud of comes from my ADHD. So I'm kind of quite used to it now. That's what it will be like.
Yeah.
But so therefore I wouldn't like to lose the stuff that I find quite fun. I guess we like a challenge, don't we, as well? You know.
We do, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
It'd be a really good thing to ask again on our deathbeds, because I really want to know, will I achieve some of the things I want to achieve? Like, will I have a family? Will I do that? Because I think it's super hard to have a family as an ADD woman. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do meet a lot of successful. I do meet a lot when I'm working with coaching and stuff. There are people that do succeed and are really good, you know, obviously, and really good ones.
With the right
and
support.
Actually, more and more now that it's getting more known about, I think it's actually more of a skill to have, because there's a chance that your children may have it as well, and therefore you are able to not shut it down and get out there and start behaving, kind of thing. I mean, I had a friend of mine. He's a drummer in a big band that are touring at the moment, but I was put in touch with him about his son who he wanted some advice, and just explaining about the emotional side of ADHD to him. Like, the kid was on report at school, and, you know, when they have a report card and then they come home and I was trying to explain to him that if they get something wrong in the first lesson, that's going to affect them for the second lesson, then the third. By the time they get back to you, all we're doing is reinforcing their RSD and shame of them being useless at behaving or whatever. And it's not really that helpful. And we talked a lot about this, how to phrase things. And I'm not an expert in dealing with children with ADHD. I was just trying to help as much as I could. And he said that he went back and told the school about some of these things, and that actually it's improved drastically, that it's much better. But I think that emotion is one of the most, I think that probably is more than being hyperactive and losing focus. I think the emotion's actually what gives away ADHD much more, that it can really affect us emotionally, personally.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.
And
Thank you for having me.
and I'll be putting up a list of places to chase you on social media, all that sort of thing. Good luck with the sitcom. And and I hope to see more sketches on YouTube soon. And I'll put some into the podcast.
Life in ADHD. Yeah, I'm gonna, hopefully with access to work funding, start making more and have some help putting them out there. But yes, meloncomedy.com is where they all are mainly. Thank you.